Yo guys, new stock, let's talk. Today we got Versus AI. Dawson, why don't you give me a little quick 60-second rundown on what Versus is?
Here's a 60-second rundown on why we're balls deep in Versus AI. So, Versus AI, in the layman's terms, it's like the Apple iOS of AI. Just like all apps are built in iOS on the App Store, all those apps are subject to regulation, laws, and the iOS guidelines. So what Versus has built is Cosm, which is like the iOS for all AI applications to now be built on. And why? It's because AI is fucking crazy and it just says shit for no reason. It has no guidelines, no governance, no laws right now. And what AI can't do right now is explain why it says shit. So you log into ChatGPT, the first thing it says is, this shit might not be right. We don't know. We can't control it. We don't have the answers. But Versus has built the answers. It has built an operating system that can explain why it does things, which kind of keeps AI now in check. So all AI built on Cosm is now in check and subject to regulation. And it's pretty cool because the European Union has already recognized this. And the only reason AI isn't implemented on a large scale is because we can't really trust it yet. You can't just throw random AI applications out there, self-learning applications, and say, yeah, go fucking do this. It could send biased answers, wrong information. That's why you can't really rely on it in any serious scenarios. But what Versus has done has built this operating system to now allow us to rely on AI, to provide accurate information from AI. And yeah, the European Union has recognized this. They're in trial 3 of 5, and they've actually already started building applications on Cosm. And those applications, such as Wayfinder, has already been landing huge contracts. They just locked one in. They have a $26 million contract locked in.
With the pharmacy, right?
With the pharmaceutical company. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. You got to think of it like iOS. Like how big iOS is now, how big the App Store is, and how big. So that's one vertical. It's okay, they built the iOS. And now think of all the stuff that can be built on it. Like Uber, think of that. Like Uber's a $26 billion valuation. You can think of like Zoom, another multi-billion dollar corporation. Like, that operating system is iOS probably breed over trillions of dollars in value for companies. And now think of what Cosm and Versus could build for companies through their AI operating system. It's pretty ridiculous, and it's not been done before. This is the only AI application that can actually give answers and give reason, and the main thing is explainability for why the AI is saying and doing what it's doing.
So there's about 500 million AI companies out there.
Yeah.
Right? What's Versus sort of competitive advantage in this market, and how do they kind of differentiate themselves?
Well, a few major things is Versus isn't a company that's been trying to catch the AI hype. Versus has been around for a long time. They're not just, becoming an AI company now because AI is hot. They've been at this for a while. And they have 2 founders. One actually wrote, I want to say a best-selling book. I don't know if it's a best-selling book. I think it was a best-selling book, actually, on AI, on the spatial web. So Dan and Gabe are the 2 founders, and these guys are balls deep. They've been at it for years. They're very experienced in the AI sector.
How much money do they have in the stock?
They own $120 million combined, but I think they own about half the company, like 40 or 50% of the whole company themselves.
Yeah, that's conviction.
That's conviction, but what really separates them is all the other AI companies are just building regular AI applications. They're not even true AI. They're more just like applications that scan the web for answers. They're just more like applications that find data. But Versus is actually like true intelligence now. It's actually like, it's true artificial intelligence. It actually can think for itself. It actually can make decisions, based off of probability. Like it can make its own decisions.
It's not just a chatbot.
No, it's not just a chatbot. It's true AI. It's like, think of like Tony Stark's assistant. Jarvis, yeah, it's like Jarvis. It's like actually like a real motherfucker out there. It's a real AI. It's unlike these other foo-foo AI companies. And this is real AI that has real answers. It actually can back up and show credibility for what it does. And it's all built within governance and built within regulation. So that's huge. There's no other AI applications right now, not even ChatGPT. Like not even the biggest AI applications on the market have the explainability built in. And Versus is coming out with that. And when they do, I could see it very well becoming the global standard. Yeah. Once we figure out the problem explainability, once it's figured out, it's going to be a no-brainer. Like, all right, like, okay, all AI is now going to be subject to this. I don't know if I think, but it would make sense actually to ban all other AI applications that aren't built with explainability. And Versus where they are today is leading the race to become this global standard, per se.
Awesome. So let's get into the question, why do you hold stock? Or how much do you hold? Why do you hold it? And what's your long-term outlook on it?
So actually, cumulatively as a group, we have about $50,000 in it. And we're young. It's quite a bit for us, eh? It's a pretty penny for us boys. Especially on it's not quite a penny stock, but, a small cap company or micro cap company.
Yeah.
Why do I hold? I think, just like back in the day when the first computer was made and Apple and Microsoft came along, there was that tech shift into the .com. And then there was that tech shift into Web 2. Like, okay, now the iPhone was made and the iOS was made. Every 15 years, there's these huge tech shifts and fortunes are made. Like back in the day, IBM, Microsoft, Apple, and now come the new 15 years later, we have, Uber, Skip the Dishes, Zoom, all these other companies, fortunes were made, billions were made. And now we're in a new tech shift into AI. And just like, we've seen, like I said, even with crypto, there's these huge shifts and fortunes are made in these huge shifts. So I see AI as, maybe one of the greatest opportunities for investment so far in my life, personally, I think, you know what I mean? I think the AI tech shift is a huge fucking opportunity. And the reason I hold Versus stock is I think this is the best exposure, or it's my favorite company in this tech shift. So this is my way of capitalizing on the shift into artificial intelligence. And obviously, I have a few AI holdings, but my biggest AI holding is Versus. And just because I think this is the company that's going to, there's a million AI companies. A lot of them are going to fall off. A lot of them probably won't make it. But Versus is my ticket to capitalizing on the AI tech shift. And that's why I hold it. Mm-hmm. And my long-term outlook is something like this. It doesn't really have a ceiling. It's not like this $2 stock. It's $130 right now. It's going to it's going to, it might be a $5 stock
That's
one
our
day.
average price, $2.
Yeah, average price $2. But it's not like, oh, wow, I'm stoked for it to become $5. Oh, I'd be stoked if it was $5. But I think, the possibility with this operating system and actually becoming a global standard is huge. Mm-hmm. And they've already been, developing applications on it in the early stages that, are banking them serious revenue. And Gia, I don't really want to touch on that, but that's a whole other thing. It's a whole other application they're coming out with, which has the potential itself to be, a fucking multi-billion-dollar application.
Yeah. So basically what you're saying is they have a bunch of different verticals, and you think that realistically they're going to come out on top versus all the other sort of AI.
Yeah, I think they have the biggest advantage and at the lowest valuation. Like you could look at, OpenAI, or NVIDIA, which have these huge valuations. And yeah, they're capitalizing. NVIDIA's tripled the last few years. Mm-hmm. And yeah, they're capitalizing on it. But something with true exposure, like Versus could be, $1.30 stock. I don't want to set price targets just because it's kind of like, I don't want to say it's going to become this, but it actually has the possibility of coming this this globally implemented company. It's something way bigger than, a little OTC neo company. It has the potential of being something beyond what me and you even think. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's kind of like a Hail Mary hold. I'm not looking at a price target. This is something I'm going to hold on to for a while.
Awesome. So
don't quote me on that, but that's how I'm thinking right now.
What's sort of like your macro outlook for AI, for the AI sector as a whole, and where do you kind of see it going here? Let's say in the next 5 to 10 years, or maybe even longer.
Yeah, so that's a good question because, a lot of people think AI is in a bubble, and it's kind of controversial because it kind of is a bubble. AI stocks are kind of ripping right now. AI stocks are actually crushing the S&P. That, in my opinion, they're the only thing keeping the market afloat right now is AI stocks. They're literally boosting the market. They're outperforming every other sector right now. It's the fastest growing sector. So yes, it is kind of a bubble, but just like, in the tech shift, just like in the crypto days, all the cryptos ripped, but yes, some created wealth and some stuck around. You know what I mean? Just like, back in the .com bubble, there was a million internet companies, a lot of them crashed, but some stuck around. Just like the cannabis boom, a lot of them crashed, but some stuck around. There's every kind of major market shift. There is companies flock, companies die, but some stick.
Yeah.
And I do think AI will come down, and I'm not sure if this is exactly even the bottom for Versus. And I'm not saying it's going to go lower based off fundamentals. I could see people getting scared of the AI bubble crashing, and I could see there being a huge AI sell-off, but that's not going to fundamentally affect Versus or fundamentally affect the good AI companies. So I do think we will see a sell-off in AI eventually, and I think that could affect AI stocks. But, the companies that actually have like true value and good fundamentals, they'll ride it through. They'll stick around, just like, all the other companies and all the other hype bubbles and booms. Companies will fail, but companies will stick around. So yeah, I do think maybe, I wouldn't say AI is over, like the market's overvalued right now. Like I wouldn't say like all these companies are way overvalued, but it's definitely getting more attention than any other sector. So I keep posted, just like, what goes up must come down. So yeah, maybe keep posted for a small correction in it. But I would say it's a bubble that may burst, but there might be a few small balloons in there that keep rising.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you wanted to touch on with Versus?
Yeah. It's a very complex company. I don't think you're going to learn it all from this couple-minute video. But I would recommend before, actually, making an opinion or, adding it to your watch list or something, really do a deep dive. The CEO, Gabe, he does a really good job at explaining himself, and he's probably one of the best spoken CEOs I've ever heard speak. Mm-hmm. So I would just watch him speak, man. He's got conviction. He's got his balls on the line. And one good thing about him invested is this guy actually buys open market. I don't think he pays himself much. I don't know what it's worth now, but like $50 million invested in the company. It's pretty ridiculous to see how convicted these guys are in the stock, and that's one of the number one indicators I look for. It's like, obviously the CEO knows shit we don't. And if he knew shit wasn't going good, I'm sure he wouldn't be holding $50 million worth of it. But if he knew things were going well and you knew he had something, man, I'd take a low note too. I'd go all in on margin.
Totally.
I'm not saying as a low note, but like you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
He's got skin in the game. That's like one of them, especially in these small cap companies. It's like one of the best things you can look for is skin in the game.
Totally. No, that's awesome. So yeah, I guess that wraps it up for Versus AI.
Yeah. Give it a look. Head to our site. We got a huge report on there. Head to our socials. We posted about it.
Yeah, we'll put the link in the description for the Versus AI landing page. And check out VHLA on all socials. VHLA Media, Instagram, Twitter, Discord, everything.
Yeah.
That's a wrap. Cut it.
Boom.